Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be the female energy vampire I work with and her male orbiters. Well, I've got an email from a guy who says that he's getting mixed signals from this female coworker of his, but as you'll see as we go through this email, there's a lot of undesirable behavior. Because as a man, what you should be looking for is a woman who is easygoing, easy to get along with, somebody who is nice to you and calm and sweet and kind. And so he started talking to this girl from work. They went to lunch one day and had a good lunch. And then she's constantly texting him, and they were talking about some Asian restaurant or Chinese restaurant or something like that. And he's like, well, come with me. Let's go Sunday. And she gives him some BS excuse why she's not available. And so it seems pretty obvious that she was looking for some attention, some male attention from him. And then a couple days later, she's like, hey, let's go to that restaurant you were talking about. And then so he makes plans to go there. And then she invites a bunch of people from work. He gets there. There's like one open chair next to her. And he's thinking, oh, that must be for me. And she's like, no, you're not sitting here. Made him sit somewhere else. And then another guy who was a new guy, a brand new employee, he ends up sitting next to her. And he's like, the whole night, she's rude to him and leaves without even saying goodbye. I mean, just total metamorphosis. And he's like, what the hell? So there's been a couple instances over the last few months where like she's yelled at him and just not been very nice, but he still likes her. So he's wondering, like, what do I do with this particular situation? So this brings up some good office politics because you really shouldn't dip the pen in company ink because it can go badly, especially when you're in the corporate world. And you get a woman who's lying, who's manipulative, who's vindictive, can make your life a living hell. And so that's why I like what he did, because you don't really know what you're dealing with, especially in the corporate world. If it's between you and her, the company always decides on her behalf. And so you got to treat these things with kid gloves. The girl's expressing interest, and so he hangs out with her kind of in a friendly type of manner. So nothing, because he's trying to determine, just like, because we're all supposed to be vetting the people we date, he's trying to determine whether or not she's a good person, she's easygoing, easy to get along with, is she honest, is she nice to him? And you'll see there's all kinds of undesirable behavior, but even despite all that, he's going, I still like her. So you got to see reality as it is, not better than it is or worse than it is, but as it is. And this girl is just not a nice person. So you got a woman who's kind of a bit of an attention whore, and she obviously likes the fact that other guys at the office are giving her attention, and she doesn't like it when her ego gets roughed up or you ruffle her feathers, because she can be pretty nasty and vindictive. And when you notice that kind of behavior, especially in an office environment, you should be like, yeah, I'm just going to keep that on a platonic coworker type of level. I wouldn't want to get involved with somebody that behaves that way or thinks it's okay to behave that way. So he says, hey, Corey, thanks for sharing your work. I read How to Be a 3% Man twice 6 years ago. Come on, man. That's half-ass. If you're really serious about getting this area of life handled, you got to read it 10 to 15 times. Read it twice 6 years ago. It's like you don't probably remember even 1% of what you read. So he says, in looking back, some relationship failures over the last couple of years, I now realize that I sabotaged myself for not retaining the material properly. It's like, yeah, the guys that struggle, the guys that don't listen. I mean, I see it in my phone sessions as well. I'd say probably 30%, 40% of the guys I talk to just won't listen. They're stubborn, they're hard-headed, and they think it doesn't apply to them. They don't need to read it 10 to 15 times. And when they start telling me their story and all the things they did, I'm pointing out, it's like, that's right in the book, dude. And it's like, you made it way harder on yourself than it needs to be. It's like, I'm happy to coach them, but it's like most people major in minor things. Most guys are lazy. They want, like the email I was doing yesterday with the robot. It's guys want to copy and paste. They want to just grab the right line or sentence out of the book, drop it into text, and woo, that just solves all my problems. Whew. Got that handled in 30 seconds. It's like this is not something that you just fix with reading a book once or copy and pasting things from a video or a book. It doesn't work that way. There's just way too many subtle nuances. And when you take into account the fact that we've all been propagandized with dysfunctional ways of living, ways that are unnatural for men to act and ways that are unnatural for women to act, they're out of alignment with our natural essence and the way the Creator made us, you're going to have problems. But if you don't know, it's like if you don't take the time to read the book, it's going to be really hard to undo a lot of that programming and recognize behaviors that you're exhibiting that you think are the right way to be actually turn women off completely. So he says, last year I decided to improve my relationship skills and I read 3% Man 10 times. Good. Nice job. Nice recovery there. But like I said, he realized he didn't listen and he experienced a lot of pain. And then he realized, man, I was sabotaging myself because I didn't listen to that shaved head dude on YouTube. Should have listened. But hey, at least he's back. Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When you're ready to get serious about it, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all on you. You got to participate in your own rescue because ain't nobody coming to save you or to fix you or to solve your problems. You got to do that yourself. He says, but I have not dated anyone yet because I became interested in a coworker. Well, the idea is you're trying to find out, is she interested? Is she good for you? Is she a nice person? Is she easygoing, easy to get along with? Does she treat you with respect? Is she nice to you? And ideally, women that behave that way, they're typically nice to their fathers. They respect their fathers. They don't walk all over their fathers and dominate them and manipulate them into doing things that they want. Which is another thing I see a lot of guys who go, oh, she's got a really good relationship with her dad. Oh, okay, well, tell me a little bit about that. It's like, well, he's kind of a pushover and she walks all over him. Sometimes she berates him. She manipulates him to buy her things that she wants. And I was like, so he basically turned her into a tyrant. And then he's surprised that the girl does the same thing to him. So how the mothers treat the fathers and how the daughters treat the fathers is very indicative of how the daughter you're trying to date is gonna treat you. It's very important. Apple does not fall far from the tree, as they say. So he says, when I met her, I was not physically attracted to her, but she matched other bullet points from my desired ideal partner attributes list. She's smart, charming, fun, outgoing, kind of light in our work, kind of the light of our workplace, and we used to banter a lot. I started to measure interest in me as high as a 7 because she was enthusiastic when meeting me at the office. Yeah, you're kind of overrating her interest, dude. She invited and shared her lunch with me and asked about my past relationships, grabbed me by the hand, texted me in the evenings about random things like how songs remind her of me. Overall, she was very enjoyable to be around. So if she's texting you in the evening and you've read the book 10 times, you should have invited her out on a date and not continue chit-chatting for months on end. So that's a mistake on your part. Because you're trying to evaluate right away, is she a good person, is she's not? Because at least initially, it's like, wow, it seems pretty cool. But it's like there's a lot of interactions and a lot of texting and a lot of talking, a lot of going to lunches and being pals. So in other words, you're constantly interacting with her as a platonic friend while obviously harboring some kind of romantic interest in her. Even though you said I wasn't really attracted to her, it's obvious that you were interested in her for a period of time, but yet you didn't do anything about it, even though she's calling you after work hours, outside work, and maybe the hint didn't hit you, or maybe you were too scared to make a move until you noticed that she was losing interest, or maybe even becoming disrespectful like she becomes. One night she initiated contact texting me about Chinese food, so I invited her right away to an Asian restaurant on Sunday evening, to which she declined with a wishy-washy excuse, and I replied, no worries, we could do it another time. So I would say at that point, especially if he's been talking to her for many months and hanging out in the office and being her pal and her buddy, but yet he never makes a move when he's hanging out at lunch, he's not noticing any signs of attraction, and he's just acting like the gay male girlfriend, if you will, then that's kind of where he put himself. He kind of behaved like a platonic friend. And so at some point, she probably decided that's all he was. And on some level, she probably didn't respect him because she could tell he's hanging out with her and he's definitely interested in her. But yet he never does anything, doesn't make a move, doesn't say anything about his interest. And over time, that becomes disgusting to women because they can tell you like them, but you don't have the balls to go for it. And so when you do that, when you interact with a woman from the office like that for many months on end, and you hang out all the time, and you go to lunches, and you're constantly chit-chatting and texting, but you never do anything romantic, and you never express any desire, even though she can see it and feel it, and your body language and your physiology that you're interested, she will lose respect for you as a man because you don't have the balls to go for it. So that's on you. The following week, a young foreign guy was hired at the office, and out of nothing, she texted me asking when could we go to that Asian restaurant I had told her about. I replied that we could go after work, and she agreed and replied that she was going to tell other coworkers to join us. So now she's using blockers. So it looks as if at this point she's decided, yeah, this guy's just a friend. She's not looking at him as having romantic feelings because he didn't do anything. And so more than likely she's thinking one of the other male orbiters in the office is going to have the balls to do something. But you'll see it doesn't sounds like those guys are a lot worse shape. So he says they arrived first and grabbed the table, and when I arrived there was an empty seat next to her, which I went to, but she stopped me and told me to take the seat at the other end of the table. Ouch. You're demoted to the practice squad. Go sit at the kids' table, buddy. To my surprise, the new guy showed up later, and apparently she was keeping the seat for him. To rub it in your face, probably because maybe he expressed a little more confidence or whatever, and so she's making it easy for him to do something. She did not stop talking during the evening, and specifically when I tried to bring up some conversation into the group, she replied in a diminishing way, trying to nullify me and making comments about my appearance, job experience, etc. Yeah. So it's obvious that by this point she's lost all respect for this particular guy. Because, again, he's not man enough to do anything about his interest and the fact that she was, at least in the beginning, signaling that she was interested in him. But this is what happens when you interact for women months and months on end and you just completely keep your hands to yourself and you act like a eunuch. Eventually she's going to think, oh, this guy doesn't have the balls to be a man. He'll make a nice friend. He can come over and unclog my toilet after Chad Thundercock explodes it up with a bad beer shit the next morning before he leaves. And maybe if he's really nice, she'll let him rotate the tires on her car and change her car battery and mow her lawn, fix her sprinkler system, do some minor electrical repairs around the house. He says she was extremely nasty the entire evening, didn't even say goodbye, and showed me a side of her that I would never imagine before. Yeah, she doesn't respect you at all as a man, for whatever reason. Maybe she also wanted to rub the other guy in your face because you didn't do anything. And plus, on top of that, she probably thought you wouldn't stand up to her or call her out or say, hey, you're being kind of rude or whatever. You just stood there and took it. He says, I thought her behavior that night was because she liked the new guy and tried somehow to elevate herself in front of him. And to be honest, I did not care because I'm not interested in being surrounded by people that invite you to supposedly have a good time, but later turn out to be complete jerks. Yeah, when she behaves that way, it's kind of like, check please. Why go out with somebody that thinks it's okay to do that, especially in a public way in front of other people? If she's going to berate you in front of other people, that's not good. Easygoing, easy to get along with, and nice and sweet to you. And she's the opposite of that. Granted, you acted like a bitch by hanging out with her and being her gay male girlfriend for all those months, and that's on you. So you trained her to be this way. You trained her to lose respect for you as a man. And on top of that, because she has so little respect for you, that's why she's now berating you in front of everybody. He says, I was not butthurt, so during the following days, she asked multiple times to join group hangouts, which I politely declined. Yeah, you don't want to go on group things. Plus, why give her another opportunity to berate you in front of everybody? And finally, she asked me to take her to the movies. I declined again, and at this time, she threatened me. That sounds nice. On how she was going to isolate me from the rest of our coworkers and cancel me. So at the end of the day, you didn't go out with her. You acted like a gay male girlfriend for too long, but now you're seeing another side of her, and you go, that's kind of gross behavior. When a chick behaves that way, when she's so disrespectful, that's probably exactly how she treats the father. She's just an ass to her dad. So she's been trained to do this. She's been trained that she can get away with it. And there's so many beta male orbiters that'll put up with it. They just validate that, hey, it's perfectly okay for a girl to go through life and behave this way towards men. He says, I believed her. Remember what Maya Angelou said. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. He says, I believed her, so like in jiu-jitsu, I have managed my distance with her ever since. Well, that's really the appropriate response. But that also should remove her from your mind with any consideration towards dating or getting involved with her romantically. He says, and then plus, I mean, she's telling you, hey, I'm going to manipulate this situation and make everybody not like you from the office. It's like, yeah, it's probably not good. It's probably not good to date somebody like that. That's a deal breaker. During the following months at the office, her attitude towards me was nasty. She yelled at me a couple of times for no reason, got noticeably nervous when near me, and did not make eye contact. And in coworker activities like happy hour, she greets everyone but me, becomes close, and talks loud but ignores me in my face like if I was the invisible man. She also has gotten a couple of male orbiters at the office, which she rubs in my face. The young guy I mentioned is one of them, and poor guy, I see him running after her around the office like a puppet, and she dominates him. When I am nearby, she wants to make sure I hear and loudly talks about how she hangs out at the beach and parties, goes for adventures with her orbiters, her family drama, and how she wishes for a confident man to appear in her life. Well, any confident man's going to be like, I don't want to put up with this truly foul bitch. Phew. All these months, I have kept respect to her as a coworker and not engaged strictly but for work-related stuff, applying the no contact and indifference makes the difference rules. Well, quite frankly, this woman you should not be considering her in any way as a romantic prospect after her behavior. She should be trying to win you over and berating you in front of other people and rubbing other dudes in your face and disrespecting you constantly. It's like, nah. Because if you start dating her, I mean, she's gotten away with this abusive behavior all this time. It just communicates, hey, do it to me again. And she will. And it'll probably get even worse. This is probably how she treats her father, by the way. And so that's a red flag. She's noticed this and lately has started to gravitate closer, is sweet and greets me, gives me smiles and invitation stares when passing by my desk, for example. Well, you got to think of it as, like swimming in a pool of alligators. The alligator might, hey, alligator's kind of smiling at me. Yeah, go in there and swim with the alligator and it'll rip you apart. Spin around and rip your limbs off. It's like, no thanks. I'm not going to play in that pond. I'm not going to play in the pond where this girl hangs out, no matter how much she smiles at me. One day we were in a group setting and she claimed that I didn't speak to her anymore, so I asked her to explain herself about it and she avoided the question with a smile on her face. Yeah, it's driving her nuts. She's trying to manipulate the situation so you give her attention again so she can return to berating you. At this point, I've not grown my social circle outside of work, so I would say that I do not have an abundance of options to hang out, have fun, and hook up. Well, you shouldn't be thinking that your office is your only source of meeting women, dude. Your real source of meeting women should be what you do for fun. What do you do when you're not working? Your hobbies, your interests, the places you go, the things you do. You're trying to put yourself in positions where there are lots of like-minded women and men that you can befriend to hang out that are doing the kinds of social activities that you enjoy doing. You shouldn't just go to work and then go home and be like, well, that's my social life. Because you're obviously not getting anywhere because you're not hanging out with anybody socially. And besides, are there other girls in the office or is just there one chick there? He says, this is why my mind gets distracted with this coworker. I still like her. Come on, man. But also, I cannot trust her and cannot ask her out again. I wouldn't ask her out again, and I wouldn't have anything to do with her. I'd be nice, I'd be respectful, but you got to think about it this way. Interacting with her is like swimming in a pond full of alligators that haven't eaten in a month. They'll all grab onto you and spin and tear pieces off. So I would stay away. Stay behind the yellow line on the other side of the fence. In this workplace situation, what would you advise, Coach? Like, treat her like a hungry alligator. Don't be nice. Keep your distance. Manage distance like in jiu-jitsu. Keep her away. I wouldn't be hanging out with her socially. Unless there's other cute girls there, and go hang out with them. But you got to be doing other things besides your work only being your only source of your social life. Should I follow along her approaches and see where things lead? I wouldn't. I wouldn't mess with her. It's like the scorpion and the frog. You mess with her, you're going to get stung. She's already stinging you. You're going, oh, I think I like this. I think I'll ask her out again maybe. Or should I continue keeping my distance and never look back? That's the best option in my opinion. I would continue keeping your distance. Be respectful at the office. If she's rude to you and nasty, tell her it's like, hey, don't talk to me like that. You're being disrespectful and I don't appreciate it. Call her out. Put her in her place. But I wouldn't date her. Because again, you've seen how she behaves. She has no problem insulting you or berating you in front of other people. And so she just doesn't respect men in general. And like I said, if you watched her interact with her own father, that's probably exactly what she does to him. She's just an absolute jackass to him. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. Easygoing, easy to get along with, and somebody who is nice to you. That's what you want. You want a girl that's nice to you. And she's not nice to you. She's like a scorpion. Oh, it's so cute. Ah, it stung me. I'm so surprised. You shouldn't be. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.